Hello everyone! Today I'm doing an update on my postpartum insomnia video because there's been a few people asking me how it's been going, and I thought it would be a good time to update you. So now it's been, I believe, 6 weeks that I recorded that video, and I am so happy to report that my sleep has been amazing. I cannot believe how well I'm sleeping right now. So I want to give you some hope if you are going through postpartum insomnia, that there are resources out there, and I want to share all about it today. But I told you in my first video that I was signing up for the Insomnia Coach program that very day. So I went through the program. It's a 6 weeks program, and honestly, after 3 weeks, my sleep was back on track. I haven't even listened to the 2 or 3 last weeks, like his content on the program, because I'm feeling good. So yes, following the strategies that the insomnia coach suggests in his program, I am now able to fall asleep very quick when I go to bed. So no tossing and turning, no anxiety about falling asleep. And I go to sleep at the time I want, normally around 10:30, and I wake up refreshed in the morning around 7 because, like I said, my baby sleeps 12 hours, so he's never been the issue. So it's been so nice to have like 8 hours nights of sleep. And also the biggest thing, which I told you about, was that we were not sleeping in the same bed, my partner and I, since having David. And now we are sleeping in the same bed. I must say we invested in a king size bed though, which has made a tremendous difference. Just, having a little bit more space, also having our own, temperature regulation because my partner runs hot and I run cold. So, he's on his side of the bed and I'm on my side, and oh God, it just feels so nice to not be alone anymore in my little room in the basement. And the other thing is, I invested in some custom made earplugs, and that has been also so life-changing for me because the earplugs I was using before were always falling off, and anyways, it was just not a great fit, and I could still hear a lot of the little sounds. And if my partner would breathe loudly at night or something like that, it would wake me up, or if he was getting up to go to the bathroom, and all these elements were just stressing me out. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna wake up from all of these things. And now with these earplugs, I don't hear a thing. It's a perfect fit. And don't get me wrong, at the beginning I was like, oh, I hope that I'm gonna still hear my baby if he wakes up. But I do actually. It's happened once, and I think it's the mother's instinct. I don't know what it is, but like when he does cry at night, which has happened only once since I have the earplugs, I was able to hear him. And anyways, my partner doesn't wear earplugs, so I'm like, at least he's gonna he's gonna hear him if something happens. But yeah, that allowed me to basically get rid of the sound machine that I was using at night, because that was the other issue. I was like, if I sleep with my partner, he hates the sound machine and I need it. So with the custom made earplugs, that's made a tremendous difference. And the other thing I did was to do a EMDR session. Something I haven't shared on this channel is that we went through a pregnancy loss this summer. So in August, I was pregnant almost 12 weeks, and started bleeding a little bit, and went for the ultrasound, and unfortunately the fetus was measuring only 7 weeks. So it had been a few weeks already that they were gone, and that was really hard for me. for all of us, my partner included. You know, it was a natural pregnancy, which was so amazing, you know, after going through IVF for our first baby, and, you know, first try, got pregnant, and we were like, yay, you know, this time around, it's gonna be easy and beautiful. And, you know, we already had a list of names, and, you know, you start wrapping your mind around this idea of having a new family member and what it's gonna look like. And, you know, my due date was in March, March 9th. So we were planning around, you know, the spring and all of that. And so when we lost that baby, it was a slap in the face, and it was really hard. And I'd say in the first 2 months, I was in complete denial of how I was processing that, and the actual need for me to process that. I was like, you know what, let's keep moving forward, let's keep trying. And, you know, I was just kind of shoveling that all under the carpet and not really acknowledging the loss and the grief. And it's really like following that my insomnia started. You know, we had the loss mid-August, and the insomnia started mid-September, so a month after. And yeah, I just had not addressed it. And I decided, you know what, with everything that's going on, I'm not sleeping well. Yes, I'm doing this insomnia coach program, but I feel like there might be something in my subconscious that has not let go of, you know, that loss. And so, yeah, I consulted with a therapist who does EMDR. So it's kind of similar to hypnosis. You're like following her fingers as you're kind of processing everything. And it was so healing for me. Like, honestly, the day of, I slept way better. It was actually the first night that I went all the way until 7 a.m. You remember I was saying, like, the first few weeks doing the insomnia coach program, I was doing well falling asleep, but I was still waking up early in the morning. And after the EMDR session is the first time I went all the way until 7 o'clock in the morning. So I was like, you know what? I think my brain was still processing that night. And it was so amazing, the EMDR. If you've never done it and you have some trauma to process, I would highly recommend. The way I can explain it is that, you know, I had this huge ball of, it felt like a blockage, like something in my chest that needed to be unpacked or something. It just felt, yeah, like a stone almost. And I couldn't really pinpoint the feelings and emotions that were part of that ball. But with the EMDR, it's as if it was like a file cabinet. This is like my very type A rational mind speaking right now, but it's as if it was a file cabinet with folders. And every time we would do the EMDR, I'd close my eyes and I would feel the sensation or the feeling that was coming up. It was like a different folder of that file cabinet called miscarriage. And I was able to process each of these emotions separately. So, you know, things were coming up like fear of being alone, you know, sadness, frustration, anger, all of these things. Every time we would do it, they would be presented to me, and I was able to actually release them. And by the end of the session, the ball was gone. So that's what we were kind of basing ourselves off of, to be like, you know, when are we ending this session? And she was asking, do you still feel the ball? Yes, it's like a 4 out of 10. Now it's a 2 out of 10. And at the end, it was a 0 and it was gone. And that is the first night that I slept all the way through. So anyways, I'm just saying that because it's like sleep is such a complex thing, right? And yes, there are things that are linked to physical problems sometimes, but the mind and the psychological aspect of sleep is also so important. And if you are having postpartum insomnia and there's, say, things about your birth experience that you haven't processed yet, or things about, previous losses or grief that you went through recently, like, I think it's so important to take that into consideration in your approach, because that can definitely keep you up at night, right? Because your brain is constantly looking for threats, and that keeps you up. Anyways, that's how I see it for my case, but of course it's not the same for everybody. So yeah, basically now I am where I want to be. I am sleeping with my partner in the same bed, happily, going to sleep whenever I want, and I know that I'm gonna fall asleep within at least 10 to 15 minutes, and waking up refreshed in the morning. And even, when I think of the possibility of my child waking up at night, it doesn't trigger that anxiety anymore. It's just like, oh yeah, if he wakes up, I'm gonna attend to him, see what's up, and then I'll go back to sleep, Whereas before, that was like such a big deal. If I was like, oh, maybe he's teething, maybe he's gonna wake up, and then I won't be able to fall asleep. There was such an anxiety about not being able to fall asleep if I was ever awakened. And of course, like everybody, I still have bad night's sleep sometime. Like last night, for example, I woke up at 4:30. I don't know why. And, I was like, okay, I'm awake. But my relationship to not sleeping is so different now, because it's no longer a big deal. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna put a meditation, and if I fall asleep, then fine, and if not, then that's just it. I've already had 6 hours sleep. That's plenty for me to go through my day. I've experienced, 5 hours night of sleep, and I was fine. So, now I put that into perspective, and I'm able to really de-dramatize the whole like not sleeping thing. And that's something that I learned from the insomnia coach, was like, you can't control your thoughts. All you can control is your actions. And so his whole thing is like, keep doing the things you love during the day. Don't cancel your plans. Don't cancel your work day when you don't sleep well, because then you give reason to your thoughts. Because your thoughts at night when you're not sleeping are, oh my God, what is going to happen tomorrow if I'm not sleeping? I'm not going to be able to go to work. I'll be a mess. I'll be moody. I'm not going to be able to take care of my child. And when you actually do that, right? Like you're not going to work, you're canceling social plans, you're not taking care of your child. You're like, oh no, I'm going to ask someone else to take care of my child. Well, then the next night when you have these thoughts, they are true, because that you're not going to do all of these things, right? Whereas if you keep doing the things that you love doing, and you decide that no matter how much sleep you get, you're gonna still go through your day and do the things you love doing, then those thoughts don't have as much power anymore, because you can rationalize it and be like, well, actually, thank you, thought, for being there, but I know that it's not going to happen, because tomorrow I'm going to work and I'm gonna go to, give that workshop. Like there was one night I had, I think, 5 hours sleep, which I know is not bad in the grand scheme of things. I know some people are sleeping like no hours or like 2 hours, like, because through the insomnia coach program, you meet other people, right? They have a community and you're like, wow, I'm not the worst, like with my 5 hours sleep, a lot of people would take that. But anyways, I remember some days I had only 5 hours sleep, and I gave a workshop in the morning, with a colleague of mine. And another time I went to a radio interview and did well with that. So you start kind of challenging those thoughts of, if you don't sleep well, then it's the end of the world. And then you realize, well, actually, I can do a lot when I have very little sleep, right? So that is one aspect of his program that I think was a huge message for me and really helpful. But there's also a lot of other tools that I think are just so life-changing. And if you don't know the insomnia coach and you're like, oh, I don't want to like go ahead and invest in the program already, I think you can just listen to his podcast. His podcast is on Spotify and on YouTube as well. He has lots of like helpful tips on his YouTube channel, just to like familiarize yourself with his approach. But honestly, like on his podcast, that's what I was listening to on my way to daycare and on the way back. And I realized so many people are dealing with this. I'm not the only one. And I was really inspired by, yeah, some of the testimonials from his clients, you know, and the way they put into practice his tips. And, you know, anyways, it was really nice to feel part of a community also of people who struggle with that and be like, okay, you know, it feels very lonely at night when you're not sleeping and everybody else is in your house, but you know that out there there's other people who struggle with it and who got away or like healed from it, right? That was a big takeaway point, is all these interviews, like people are like, well, you know, I still have bad night's sleep, but once in a while, but in general, you know, I've healed from that and it's behind me now. So I think it's a huge message of hope. So anyways, I know this is only what worked for me, and maybe, you know, this is something else that will work for you, but I just thought I would share what has helped me in case that would help you too. And yeah, thanks so much for all the messages too that you've sent me about this video, because my first video, because it was so lovely to read you and just be like, okay, you know, I'm not the only one. Again, like often that's what's comforting, right? It's like, I'm not the only one. And yeah, all your support was so nice, and I'm really happy to sit here now and report that things are going very well. And you know what? Also, what is super encouraging is looking into the future and being like interested in having a second child. I'm no longer scared of postpartum. And that was the thing before. I was like, how can I have another child if my sleep is so screwed up and I cannot figure myself out? Like, I just couldn't see myself going through it again. Whereas now I actually have a plan, and I'm like, you know, these are the things that I'm gonna do if my sleep is bad. And, you know, I have some strategies that I can go to, and I know that I can get out of it if it gets as bad as it did. Because I have a toolbox now and I can reuse that anytime. Anyways, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you later.